I think we'll just start with Porridge Radio then.
Yeah, boy. Do you want me to introduce it?
Take it away.
Take it away, Jack. So this was released, again, quite some time ago. It's released on the 20th of May on Secretly Canadian Records, an American independent record label based in Bloomington, Indiana, who also represent the likes of the War on Drugs and Yoko Ono. The album is just under kind of 45 minutes long. It reached number 39 in the UK charts, so pretty decent.
It's alright.
The band themselves are a Brighton-based indie quintet formed by lead singer, songwriter and guitarist Dana Margolin, Georgie Scott on keyboards, Maddie Ryle on bass, and Sam Yardley on drums. The Guardian previously hailed them amongst their kind of top 40 new artists in 2018. We were quite late to the party on this one, I think. I was first introduced to them by way of their single 7 Seconds, which is so fucking good. That was released in kind of late 2020, I believe. It then prompted me to go back and listen to their back catalogue, and we consequently included their second studio album, Every Bad, and our favourite albums of 2021. Waterslide Diving Board Ladder to the Sky is the band's third studio album to date. They've previously been likened to the likes of alt and indie legends such as the Pixies, Sonic Youth. However, in an interview with The NME on the 9th of May 2022, so just ahead of the release of the album itself, Margolin identified that the band made a list of 20 to 30 other artists that they mentioned whilst in the studio, and consequently added them to the liner notes of the new record. And although the list boasts a wide variety of different genres and ideas, Margolin identified that Sam Yardley, who is a drummer, drew inspiration from likes of Deftones and some of his drumming. They also mentioned likes of Coldplay and also some pop influences as well, and I think you do. I mean, I'm not familiar with the person that she kind of mentions, or the artist that she mentions in the interview. She mentions an artist by the name of Charlie XCX. But I do think there is a kind of a poppy element to some of their tracks. Their sound's previously been described as kind of like slacker indie. And I think you can definitely hear that same indie kind of DIY aesthetic that you get from their kind of previous two albums. But for me, I think this album feels a bit more expansive and innovative. You still get that raw and emotive moments. There's some neat little kind of poppy math rock riffs in there. As I said, the kind of the poppy influences as well. But there's some really kind of tender and introspective tracks as well, so you know there's a bit of kind of everything in this, and it's something that I really enjoyed. The first track's technically the second track on the album. First track's just a bit of a throwaway kind of instrumental number. I don't think it lasts kind of any time at all, but the second track, Back to the Radio, that was the track that kind of blew me away. I think it's, as I said, it's really raw, emotive. For me, it perfectly encapsulates that kind of tension, frustration of a kind of warring couple or a failing relationship. The gang vocals in particular really hit me. I think that's something that's perfectly executed throughout the course of the whole album. There's numerous moments where we get kind of these kind of gang vocals, and it really kind of like helps drive each of the songs kind of anguish and pathos home. I've been talking about it for quite a while now, man. So what's your thoughts?
That's fine. Like that fine. Song. That's fine. Just keep talking.
That's fine.
It's I was also introduced them on that song 7 Seconds. I think you recommended it to me, and I just found it to be kind of like this wonderful slice of nostalgic pop. It was indie kind of pop, but I never checked out Every Bad in full. I just kind of gave it a cursory listen, so I need to go back to that, because if anything like this, then I'm bound to be on board with it. You talked about Back to the Radio there, and some of the vocals, and I like the way that the vocals kind of warble a little bit, and they sort of crack and creak and break more and more as the song goes on, as the sort of emotion kind of ramps up, which is a really, there's a nice build to that song. And the sort of instrumentation and the catchy melodies on there reminded me a lot of Mega Bear by Me Rex.
Yeah, fair enough, man. Never thought
in
that.
that there's just this kind of songwriting knack for a melody. So that was really impressive. The next track, Trying, felt a bit more kind of light and fluffy in the sort of
almost jaunty
presentation. Yeah, but then the sort of lyrics are sort of about self-doubt and that kind of not being good enough, that kind of thing. But it's just the way all the instruments layer up. The acoustic guitars, there's these electric guitar licks, there's flourishes of organ, there's a sort of almost folky storytelling vibe to the vocals and the lyrics of that song. And I got, from the way the kind of organs and the guitars played together, I got a little bit of the choral, maybe just a little less jaunty than the choral, but that... there was something in there that reminded me of the choral anyway. I liked a lot of the lyrics and the vocals on this, and like I said, the way the vocals kind of break and crack and become more abrasive in different parts of the song. I think that's really cool. There's some good lines on, like, the birthday party, I don't want to be loved, is repeated over and over again on top of this kind of crashing drum beat. It's sort of more speak singing, I suppose. I think my favourite song is probably Rotten, or at least it's got my favourite opening. It's got this really sweet kind of guitar and bass melodies that open it up in the line, "This year the taste of apples changed and I did a bad thing." I think it's just it's just the perfect opening to a song. I think there was maybe the odd similarity to some of the stuff in, like, Girl in Red's Chapter 2 EP, I think mostly in that vocal delivery. And the end of that song has got the line, "It stops the rot from spreading," which is repeated, and it's just really, really catchy. Like, there's tons of catchy stuff.
The kind of gang vocals on and Rotten, where they're singing "It Hurts," is really effective as well. It was something that I've kind of noted.
Yeah, I think in terms of...
It's almost like there's a catharsis that you get, I think, from listening to this album.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. I got kind of, on some of the tracks, I got a little bit of kind of Pillow Queens vibes as well. Like,
it's funny you say that, man. But, like, Flowers in particular, I almost couldn't decide whether it reminded me of Pillow Queens or The Big Moon. I think there's definite similarities.
Yeah, I think the Pillow Queens, I think probably Flowers, and maybe You Can Be Happy If You Want To. Probably other tracks as well. And there was I'm trying to remember which song it was. I think it was The Rip, which is like the second last track, reminded me more of, like, The Big Moon, which is pretty cool. There's almost a sort of danciness to that track.
Yeah, that's probably my favourite track, man. So that's the kind of, as you said, the kind of penultimate track on the album, and I think that's where I kind of got the kind of poppy kind of vibes, which, you know, as you were saying earlier on, perfectly executed on their single 7 Seconds, and you see a return of that in this track. Yeah, I thought it was an absolute banger. That's the one track that I go back to time and time again to listen to. That, and probably Back to the Radio. The bridge at around the kind of 1 minute 14 second mark on The Rip has this kind of really fuzzy driving groove to it that I just love.
Yeah, that's a pretty cool track. There's a lot of stuff that stands out to me, but probably Back to the Radio. I think End of Last Year is really good, and Rotten, and like you say, The Rip's really cool. I think the last track, which is the title track, Waterslide, Diving Board, Ladder to the Sky, I find that to be a fairly straight ahead acoustic number to begin with. It's got the odd kind of ethereal synths in there. It's got a little bit of a spooky backdrop, but the more I listened to it, the more kind of I got sucked into it, and it feels almost like a funeral march, the way that the sort of acoustic chords are constructed. And I don't know if that's like an actual bereavement or the death of a relationship or what it is. And I think there's a line about being on the phone to her brother in tears,
crying hard or something. Crying hard on a phone call to my brother.
Yeah, trying to hold it together or something like that. And so that could be a bereavement, but then there's stuff that suggests maybe a relationship. So, I don't know, but what I thought was just kind of like this kind of, it's just a straight ahead kind of acoustic number, turned out to be a really quite engaging, the more that I listened to it, so I quite enjoyed that as an ending to this album as well.
What did you give it, man?
So I've given this a strong 8.
I've given it a 9. A 9 out of 10 for me.
I think I feel like I maybe have to be in the mood to listen to the whole of this. Like, there were the odd standout tracks that I could probably listen to over and over again, but if I sit down and listen to this, I think I'd need to be, because it's quite down tempo and a little bit down in the dumps as well. Although, like you said, it is kind of cathartic and at times it's really uplifting as well. So
yeah, no, I get that, man. I get that. It's I really enjoy it. They were playing St. Luke's not all that long ago as well. Really? And again, it was a case of I couldn't go because I had something on or whatever. But yeah, I'd love to see them live. I wonder if there is some imagery in the album's title, Waterslide Diving Board Ladder to the Sky, because I remember reading in one of the interviews that they've done, I think it was with the lead singer Dana Margolin. I think she's done all the artwork for the albums and for the band so far, and I think with regards to this, she got kind of like enthralled or enticed by this kind of one painting that she saw, and I think she's kind of recreated it not recreated it, but to put her own slant or whatever on it for the sake of this. And yeah, I think there's meant to be a connection there, but I'm not intelligent enough to decipher it.
I was trying to decipher that on the last song as well, because there's that is repeated throughout the song, Waterslide Diving Board Ladder to the Sky, and then there's stuff about going down to hell and then rising up to heaven, and I just couldn't quite decipher it, but that's what it was. It kind of drew me in to try and figure it out. But I couldn't quite
it's like, I wonder if it's like, it kind of reminded me a bit of like the Escher Impossible Stairs and stuff. I don't know.
I think St. Luke's would have been quite a fitting venue to listen to this, because there's a lot of like organ on here, which should be quite cool in a sort of, because it's it's a old church, so that would be pretty cool. It was, I think at one point I'd written somewhere that there was I have written it down, ecclesiastical organ, so I've kind of gone for a sort of church reference. So I think that would be quite a cool venue to see them in.
Yeah, man,
for sure.
If they tour again, we'll go.
Yeah, man, I think we should. I definitely should. I mean, if they play 7 Seconds, that would be fucking unreal. Such a great song.
That is fucking
nice. Okay, so that was Waterslide Diving Board Ladder to the Sky by Porridge Radio.
Lock all the windows and march up the stairs. But what if I never get it right? I don't wanna be loved, I don't wanna be loved. I do everything for you, and I won't give it back. This year the taste of apples changed, and I did a bad thing. You cut tomatoes, they're soft to the touch. When will you punish me for what I have done? Oh,